Hello friends! Welcome back to my channel. For those new subscribers that I have, thank you guys so much for subscribing. That makes me feel so good and encouraged to continue to make videos for you about our grocery hauls and kind of how we bargain shop and save money for our larger family, and also how we do our homeschooling as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and share with you guys today our kind of how I feel about all these books when I get a box full of a set for a certain grade. It's super overwhelming to me, so I'm going to share kind of how I get started. It's exciting and overwhelming at the same time. And so if you're new here, I am a homeschool mama of 5. I am a military wife, and on this channel I share our large family grocery hauls and homeschool content as well. We have been using Memoria Press for our homeschool for this. We just finished our 7th year of homeschooling, and it's a classical Christian curriculum that we use, and so sometimes it's a little scary when we get a whole box set of a certain grade. It can look overwhelming at first, so if you're not using Memoria Press, you can still use this for your curriculum if you get a big box set for a certain grade. So, like I said, this is all second grade right here in this shelf. And so when I look through the big box and it's like, whoa, this is a lot of stuff. How am I going to teach all this? It can be super overwhelming, but you have to remember that you're not teaching this all in one day. You're going to take small pieces. You're going to make take small steps, take a bite of it here and there, not eat it all at once. So it's one thing at a time. And some of it you may not even be doing it or doing all of it. Some books you don't use every single thing in it. And then also for like 3rd grade, a lot of stuff is split between 3rd grade and 4th grade. So the 3rd grade level can look really overwhelming. If that's where you're starting with Memoria Press, then that can be kind of scary because you're like, whoa, this is a lot of stuff. But if you remember that a lot of that stuff is going to be carried over into 4th grade, then you realize it's like 2 years of stuff. It's not all for 3rd grade. So where I like to start is, you can't tell on the sides of my books here, I took colored tape. So for each grade I have a different color. That way I can find all of that grade on my bookshelf. It helps me out a lot because we have 5 kids, so we have lots of different grades going on, different levels. I need to get some more tape and do some more of that so that I can find some of the other books. Like we're starting to do some Simply Classical, which is part of Memoria Press, but for special needs or children that work at a slower pace, ADHD, different things like that. So, so I have some of those too. So I need to find out how I'm going to color code those as well. But for right now, if you look right here, the 2nd grade has yellow tape. So that's how I know where the 2nd grade books are that I'm looking for. And another thing is, when you look through here, a lot of times you can buy these reading sets. They have read aloud sets for like science, and then just a regular read aloud set. Sometimes they have a read aloud set when they get older, in the older grades, for like history. You don't have to do those books. If you want to do different read louds, you could, or you can get them from thrift books. You can shop around and look for used ones, which will bring your prices down if you are in a really tight budget, or also the library might have them as well. Or you can kind of look through your library and see which ones they don't have and which ones they do, and then know which ones you need to buy and which ones you can get from the library. So hopefully that's helpful. But I always start with doing that, the colored tape on the books, so that I can find the grade that I'm looking for. The second thing that I do is I look at the teacher's manual, and this is super important. Maybe you don't go exactly by the teacher's manual, and that's fine, that's understandable. Some people don't, but you go here and you can look and make sure you got everything that you needed for that grade and just check it off. And then the important part, the part that I like to highlight and put all the flags on, is the teaching guidelines for each subject. And so this is super, super important. This is where I always start for each grade. And so you can look and it's like opening recitation there, grammar, Latin, how you're going to do that, how you're going to teach that. And so a lot of times it might even give you information on things you don't need to do that might be in a book, that might, or it might explain like on some of the math in certain grades, you're not doing every single line on the worksheet or things like that. So that's helpful for me because it makes me less overwhelmed when I realize, oh, they don't have to do everything. So it's helpful in that way, and kind of what they're supposed to learn in each grade and what things are important to focus on. So I just go through, I read that beginning part. It really, I mean, it's not super, super long, but it's super informative and helpful in that way. And then the recommended schedule, you know, you can look at their recommended schedule and you can kind of go by that. Usually it doesn't, for 5 kids, it doesn't work for me this way. Sometimes I have certain kids that I work with together on their subjects because I can kind of bounce back and forth between them on that subject. Like I have 2 kids that are doing spelling, and then I just do their spelling at the same time, and I kind of bounce back and forth. One person will be writing their words and one person will be spelling and saying them out loud with me, and then we'll kind of go back and forth, and that helps me a little bit with their schedules. But they also have right here where you can write your own. So that's what I usually use. I print this out and kind of cut it and write it in there how I want. So another thing that's important is kind of this here, because I think it's important that you use this, to be honest, because a lot of times I might be doing more than what I'm supposed to be doing. Like you'll notice that at the beginning of the year, a lot of the math is review, and so the lessons are review, and so they take some problems from several different lessons just to review, and so they're not doing the full each lesson. So I really think that that the curriculum guides are super helpful. I would even go back and look at their recitation and some of the things that you'll need in the back as well, because those are helpful too. So activities, extra activities and things like that. So go back and look at the appendix as well. Like I said, this is gold. If you're using Memoria Press, it's really necessary. The next thing I do is in each book, in each teacher's manual for a different subject. So this one's Traditional Spelling 2, teacher's manual. There's also a general lesson overview at the beginning, kind of a teacher's guide and contents. I always go through that as well and highlight it. Usually they're not super long, but this is kind of just my summer reading, and I go through and I highlight it. And even if I have a child who's already done one of those grades, I'll go back through that just to refresh myself a little bit on each grade that I'm teaching that year. So that is how I do it. So like I said, I would pick out another teacher's manual somewhere in here, and then I might just go ahead and, I don't think that's teacher's manual. Anyways, I'd go through and I'd look at the teacher's manual for this subject, for her science, and I'd read the beginning of that just to make sure that I understand how I'm teaching it. Obviously, I'm not going to read every lesson because a lot of the lessons are kind of already outlined for you, like in the math and different things like that. It tells you basically what to say. So I might just look at those lessons right before I teach it, or that week, or just kind of as I'm teaching it, honestly. Sometimes I just do that because you get the hang of, like Rod and Staff math, you kind of get the hang of how they teach it, and you'll know what you need. You can just look at what you need on the board or something in the teacher's manual, and you'll know what you need for that lesson. So one thing at a time, and just remember that just you're making progress a little bit at a time, and do it at your own pace, and just start with the teacher's manuals for sure. Hopefully that's helpful. If you guys have any more questions about how I get started and feel less overwhelmed, then leave them down in the comments. But I just wanted to share that with you guys, and just, you know, remember that you're using Memoria. If you're using Memoria Press, you're using it for a reason, because it has such good, rich things that you're teaching them. And if you don't get to absolutely everything, they're still going to learn a lot of great things. So just remember that. And I will see you guys in the next video. I'm going to do another video next week. I'm going to do one video each, one homeschool video coming up each week till August, I think, as a kind of back to school, getting ready for the new homeschool year type of videos. So let me know in the comments if there's a specific thing that you want to see coming up, and I will talk to you guys in the comments.